And time to walk and roll. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. This is a long running tradition that a number of channels on YouTube, the smaller cooking channels, have been doing for the past several years now. They have done a cast iron video regularly on Wednesday, and that certainly includes my channel as well, because, well, it gives us an excuse to play with our cast iron as well as to have a lot of fun cooking here in the kitchen. And of course, that's really the whole point of it, because after all, if it's not fun, why do it? I mean, that's probably the biggest reason why I fell in love with cast iron. And I'm more than happy to have another excuse to use some cast iron here on YouTube. So thank you very much to everybody who has been kind enough to show up here. Since we're going on 4 years almost, maybe only about another month and a half, or maybe a little less, here well, on this channel. So even though I'm at this point, I'm at my third, yeah, I think my third different home of doing these live videos. But thank you again to everybody who has again been kind enough to show up here tonight. There are a lot of names I recognize, and thank you to everybody who has come here week after week, such as Val's Black Cat's Rules. I thought I was going to be late. Yay, you just got back from a fire police run. That sounds interesting. I hope nobody was hurt. Hello to Rocket Caver and Pat Z and Anthony and Rick Stumbow and Cast Iron Fanatic. Hello, Wok Wednesday. Yes, thank you. Well, thank you for being here, Cast Iron Fanatic. Watching from Southern California, says Rich Qualls and Fuzz Fork 8 and Pat Z. And hello, Jim F. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope you're doing well. And hello to Gary Dodson and William Hurt. And hello to Rick Stumbow and all of the regulars who are kind enough to be here on this channel, where, as you know, snarky comments are encouraged, because I have said from the beginning, I am not a professional chef. I'm really here to have fun and to practice and to learn. I'm here to learn as much, if not more, than you folks are. And I certainly hope to be doing that as we make some more some wok cooking again tonight. Because as you say, Radagast, hello, Radagast, here we go. Wok Wednesday. Just a duck with a badly smoking engine. Well, that's not bad. A duck? Oh, dude. Okay, sorry, I didn't read that right. I'm sorry. And yes, Wok Wednesday. Yes, indeed. We've been making this a tradition of the last Wednesday of the month, where we do some wok cooking, because there is pretty much an infinite variety of things you can cook in a cast iron wok. And of course, having a cast iron wok really certainly makes you want to use it, whether or not it's a traditional thin Chinese wok, which you can pick up to toss the food around, or if you have something like this, the Lodge cast iron 14-inch wok. This is an slightly older model, even though it's definitely still modern. Lodge produced this as part of their so-called Pro Logic line, which that meant that about 20 to 30 years or so, well, maybe not 30 years, but at least 20 years ago, they started producing newly designed cast iron where everything was rounded and had no sharp edges to it. And they called it their Pro Logic line. They finally discontinued that line, but only like within the past few years or so. So there are quite a few of those out there. The Lodge continues to make this 14-inch wok, though, and you can easily get it at maybe the Lodge factory store or the Lodge outlet stores or on Amazon. Quite often, I've seen it even at TJ Maxx or Marshalls, because it is a very popular piece of cast iron. And why not? Cooking in a wok is a lot of fun. And once you start doing stir fries in a wok, it's not likely you're ever going to stop. I certainly haven't. So yes, surgery went well last Thursday, says Radagast, and I'm glad to hear that too. And hello, Cynthia Wesley. And you were taking out the trash. Well, now you're here where you can hang around with the rest of the trash, namely myself. Hot wok, cold oil, food won't stick. Yes, exactly. That was a saying, a long time Chinese saying, used regularly by one of the first celebrity chefs, the frugal gourmet. That was his saying there. it's going to warp more. Well, there is that possibility, although I think I can safely say this is not at that point. I do have this thing heated up nicely, though, nonetheless. We are at over 500 degrees here in this wok, and that means we could certainly get some cooking done. Although, before I say that, I should point out that I actually have another piece of cookware here that is also heating up, and this is the Magnalite Dutch oven, the aluminum Dutch oven that I use quite a lot in my kitchen. At this moment, I'm just heating up some water. There's some time to go because I'm going to be making the noodles in this, and we are just going to be using angel hair pasta tonight. We're actually not going to be using rice noodles this time just because, well, really because I felt like it. And because here in the USA, people are probably more likely to use pasta than rice noodles, despite the fact that I love rice noodles. However, let's see. As I mentioned, this is really, it's kind of like it's going to be one dish, but there are several steps to it. And that's why I figure the first thing we should do actually is do some chicken. So let's uncover this. I've got more than enough chicken here. I should probably even do two batches of this. These are just chicken breasts that I've been marinating in a basic marinade of egg whites, soy sauce, some cornstarch, and rice vinegar as well. So hopefully this has been marinating for the last couple of hours. So hopefully we will get this nice and tender. And that's the first thing I'm doing here, getting started with some stir frying. So as we're doing that, though, as I said, please keep the comments coming in. Does that wok come with a Surgeon General warning? Because it is smoking. Yes, indeed. And that's how we know we are ready to fry. So I've got my stir fry oil here. I've been definitely running through this stuff, and it looks like soon, but not tonight, I will need to be using more. I'll need to replenish it. Well, that's not too difficult. Nonetheless, let's get this thing heated up here. This is the part that a lot of people don't like, the sound of a metal wok spatula scraping against a thick cast iron wok. I personally, however, I do believe my microphone here, my mic that I'm wearing on my shirt, that probably mutes out most of the sound, so this should not be so bad. Anyway, we get everything nice and hot. And as I mentioned, there's so much chicken here. I think I may start just by doing half of this in one batch. The marinade, it gets it all sticky. So away we go. That's the thing, especially with chicken, of course, you don't want to overcrowd the pan. So let's get started here and see what we can do. I have sliced this chicken breast into strips, as you can see. My hope is that it should not take too long to cook them, but we are certainly about to find out. And yes, hello as well. I remember Rick D. Yes, I did. Time to walk and roll. That's exactly what we're doing here. And Rick, yeah, hopefully Rick Stumbow is doing a little better. As I understand, he had a bit of a mishap and is hopefully recovering from it. Nice thing about, did I say that I included soy sauce in the marinade? I hope I did. The marinade here, as I mentioned, is really just egg whites, some soy sauce, some white vinegar, not white, rice vinegar, and some cornstarch. So that should certainly be enough to help, well, besides marinating, it should certainly be enough to give this chicken a nice crust as we do it as well. My plan is I'm simply going to start with this chicken, then put it aside while we actually do the sauce. So, this is really supposed to be a very fast dish, and I think we're about to find out. Meanwhile, I'm also keeping an eye on the water in the other pot to ensure that it does, so that when it comes to a boil, we will notice it. Huh. How did this happen? I could have sworn I had actually cut this chicken into nice strips. So I guess I'll just have to cut it this way. There we go. Oh, this is not taking long at all, it looks like. Of course, with chicken, you absolutely have to be sure. But funny. This chicken seems to have gotten past the bouncy stage. You know the part. Although probably it might help with the fact that it was sliced thinly. Even so, it looks like I'll be able to go through both batches of this chicken without too much difficulty, and I'm quite glad about that. So let's spread this out a little bit, and I'll let it sit. As people say, I tend to push my food around too much. Heard that one of Radagast rabbits bit him, and why not? After all, these are Rosgabel rabbits. I'd like to see them try. Yes, despite the way everybody was disappointed with the Hobbit movies, I have to say that one scene in the first part of the Hobbit that at least made it worth it. I mean, Radagast in the movie, unfortunately, was something of a cartoony character, but that one chase scene definitely redeemed him in many people's eyes, and I would certainly agree there too. Hi. The kitten finally got bored of the chat. Oh, glad to hear that, Val. And yeah, you know that you know me in that mental. Starting to salivate at the sound of your spatula on the wok. Pavlov at work. Well, that's interesting, and I'm glad to hear that you like it. So, yes, this wok spatula. You know, I've told the story of this wok spatula. I probably tell this every time. In fact, I use the wok. The fact that this is definitely a made in China wok spatula. I have no idea how old it is. I found it at the Brimfield Antique Show for $5. And I soaked this thing in my live tank for an entire winter before finally taking it out the next spring and cleaning it up. And since then, this thing has been a wonderful, wonderful wok spatula. This is also a carbon steel wok spatula, meaning that it can rust if we don't take care of it. However, while we're waiting, the water is boiling, so that means we can get through the other step here. So it looks like I'm going to be kind of like moving back and forth here for the next several minutes or so. Let me undo this and get my glove. Oh yes, this water is definitely boiling. This is why, as I mentioned, this aluminum pot is probably the best water boiler I've ever owned, and I'm quite happy with it. Because yes, even though it's not cast iron, it definitely has its uses. There we go. Let's put this in. And in this case, whoops, there we go. Get it all over the place. What else is new? And I'm sure I'm not the only one to do that too. Let's see. Fortunately, only a couple of these strands came out. Now we better straighten this out. Boy, this was not the best unboxing of this pasta, was it? Still, because this is angel hair pasta, nice and thin, as you can see, it sinks into the water with really no difficulty. Got an extra piece or two we can put in there. But yes, I'm just using a basic angel hair pasta here. I wanted to do it nice and thin, both so that it would cook fast and also so that after it's done, I'll be able to quickly stir fry it too. Because frying up the pasta definitely helps. It gives it a good consistency. Anyway, that sure did not take long. We've got everything nice and covered. Now I just covered for a couple of minutes, but not long, because of course I know that it will boil over if you cover it too long. However, let's get back here to the chicken. Because I'm pretty sure this chicken is probably just about done as well. I haven't even seasoned this chicken. Well, other than the marinade, that is, which I mentioned included some soy sauce and some rice vinegar. My plan is that at the end, I will give it one more stir fry, and that's when I will add some seasoning to the meat. So this is looking pretty nice at this point. Let me see. It looks like if you can cut a piece with a spatula, and it looks like it's well cooked, then I think we are done. So yeah, I'd say we are off to a good start here. me dig out my bowl. And then after this, we'll be able to start the next batch of chicken. So we are making some progress here already. So that's not bad. And again, doing it in batches, as I said, means that I did not overcrowd the pan, and this kept the temperature from dipping too low. Get rid of the rest of this stuff. There we go. They call that fond, and for good reason. All right, let's see. Get this out on the bowl somehow. There we go. There's a little bit, and there's a little bit more. All right, because that means now we'll be able to get to the second batch. As soon as the temperature gets good enough, that is. Let's check and see if the temperature went down. Well, it looks like it did a little bit. We are now between 300 and 400 degrees. So let's wait a couple of minutes on this. Let me see. This, on the other hand, is already starting to approach that point. So I definitely, there we go, just in time. Move in a little bit. And now all we have to do here is start stirring. I use salted water when I boil my pasta. I do not add oil to the water because I feel that there is no need to add oil to your pasta water. Consider two things. Supposedly, you add oil to the water so that it doesn't stick together, right? Well, one, that's what the stirring does, and it ensures it's all well cooked and does not clump together. And number two, you want the pasta to stick to the sauce. You don't want the sauce to slide off the pasta after it's all done. You know, that wonderful starchy um, um, consistency that your pasta has, and the pasta water as well. So I do not add oil to my pasta water for that reason. I will, of course, be adding on all of the seasoning and flavoring afterwards. But this is not going to take long at all. Boy, that's for sure. So we'll let this sit for a couple of minutes. All right. And meanwhile, well, William, try to get to Ricky D. He's my. Okay. Oh, yeah. Cynthia Wesley, he'll give it to me with your permission. Thank you, Kong Dubs. Okay. I'm still here at the mailbox. Okay. It sounds like we're having a nice conversation here. I use oil and have no problem with the sauce. And okay, Corey Clark, I'm not saying you're wrong. Everybody, cooks it the way they like. If you use oil, then feel free to do so because, after all, it's your cooking, not mine. I feel I have better results when I don't use oil in my pasta water. And Val's Black Cat's Wool seems to agree with me on that. If you get a chance tonight, I'd love to see that tulip handle skillet you mentioned last live stream. Oh, okay. When I have a chance, I will break that out. Yes, you're talking about the so-called fancy handle pan. Yes, that I have indeed had for, oh man, I can't believe it's been over 10 years, but it's true. At this point, we are just getting between 400 and 500 degrees. So we are doing not badly at all here. Give me maybe just another few seconds. I think I will stir this pasta one more time. And then from here, I believe, come on, there we go. I believe it's time. Actually, since we have this, I will test it now. Whoops, and it just fell out. Okay, maybe not this one. But let's try that again. Let's test it now and see what we get. Hot, hot, hot. Yeah, this thing cooks really fast. I would say we might only need to do another minute or so on this. But that wasn't bad at all. Come on. All right. There we go. Okay, that means we will keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, let's head back here. And at this point, well, just repeat what we did. And then once we do, the first stage will be over. A little bit more of the oil. Move this around. Get this good and hot. All right. I also salt my pasta water, says Rick Stumbo. Yes, I do that too. I like to put olive oil on my pasta after it is cooked, and and that certainly helps to give it some flavor. That's for sure. Yes, indeed. I did I mention I really love this gas stove? I would say, yeah, because this definitely gets this wok hot enough to do some really decent stir frying. Speaking of which, let's do it and take care of all the rest of this. There we go. That takes care of the second batch of chicken. Move this around. Bring it apart too. A little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, at this point I am glad I did this in batches. I think it would have stuck together a lot more if I had done this all in one big blob of chicken. So let's get this around and cook it until it is done. And once the chicken is done, we will come back to the chicken for the last step of this dish. All right, meanwhile, as I'd mentioned, I would say most likely this angel hair pasta is probably done. So let's spread this out for a moment. Try to get as much surface space, contact rather, as possible. And while we're doing that, hot, let's head over to the sink and drain the pasta. For the record, I washed out the sink before I started all this tonight, so this can go off. So I am not doing anything dirty by emptying this into the sink. There we go. I mean, I washed it out with dish soap and everything. So that means I can just let this drain for a couple of minutes. Wash these cords. And let's head back again to our large cast iron wok, which I have had in my possession and I've been using almost weekly since January of 2011. So this wok has had its 13th birthday. Yeah, this wok is a teenager. Terrible teens. Well, there's nothing terrible about this, that's for sure. And yes, as somebody pointed out, it is true. I did indeed warp this wok. This thick, heavy cast iron wok, where at its deepest point, it's got to be at least half an inch thick or more. That was because when I was first learning how to cook in cast iron, I made the same mistake that many people make when cooking in cast iron. Namely, I blasted my electric stove to its maximum just about every time I cooked with it, which was way far, far, far too hot. I would regularly, in fact, get little grease fires, flare-ups, because I was heating the wok up so hot. And no, I did not burn down my kitchen, fortunately. But nonetheless, it was because of that two things. One, I did in fact end up warping the center of this wok, and this wok is indeed a spinner. But as you can see, it still works just fine. The other is I finally got into my thick skull that, maybe I'm not cooking it right if I have to keep putting out so many fires. So it only took me about 13 years of practice before I really got the hang of cooking in the large cast iron wok. But nonetheless, this wok has barely left my stove in that I do use it on a very regular basis. All right, while we're doing that, I put pasta on my pasta. All sauces, all ways. Better hope his cookout does not get rained out. I'm going to upcoming fourth. Yeah, there is always that risk, Fuzz Fork. But all we can do is keep an eye on the weather forecast and see what it turns out to be. I'm actually going to be doing my outdoor cooking next Wednesday evening, the night before the 4th, just because of the way my schedule has turned out. Rick Stumbaugh, let your Leo neighbors know you have some lids for sale and see what kind of reaction you get. Ooh, Radagast, I always run cold water when draining hot water so it doesn't melt my plastic pipes. Yes, actually, I have done that before. You're right. Probably should have done that again tonight. Had a lot on my mind, unfortunately. Nonetheless, that pasta is definitely well drained. And finally, yeah, as I mentioned, I'm going to stir fry the pasta in the end because that also helps to separate it so that you don't have one big clump of pasta, as well as helping coat it with the sauce. But yes, this is not taking long at all, is it? I still have a little ways to go, I think. As you can see, I am cutting this across with the spatula. I'm getting very little resistance. So things are looking pretty good, but I might say just another couple minutes or so. And then we will move on to the next step. Boy, we're only half an hour in, and actually we're already, I mean, really, this is not going to take long at all. Boy, I've seen viral videos suggesting that this is a 20-minute dish. And at this point, I'm ready to agree with them because really, after this, all we have to do is get the sauce together. So we're going to be done with this way early. This is not going to be one of those dishes that takes the entire live video to cook. Even though I'm taking my time in cooking this chicken. All right, the joys of owning cats. That's always fun. You're living life with that cat. I don't talk to them worthless people next door. With cats in the house, I no longer walk around at night in my bare feet. Well, yeah, I have that problem too, as you know. I still have one cat who lives here, good old dear Miss Mobley. And I make sure to close the door at night to keep her inside and keep the neighbor cats outside at night. And even though she doesn't like that when I first close the door at night, she gets over it very quickly and she spends the night on my bed, and I'm happy with that. Miss Mobley is doing quite well, and she's definitely come out of her shell since the time when she was first living here. All right, welcome to the family, Russell. Hello, Russell Winters. Nice to see you here. And Cast Iron with Honey Badger. Okay, but we got a new puppy a few weeks ago. I feel your pain. Oh, yeah. Puppies are so much fun because they take up so much of your time and attention. Okay, there we go. Get rid of all this extra stuff, of course. But I would say we're probably just about done with this chicken here. Boy, I could eat this chicken just as is. However, the fun part is about to happen. I mean, we already have our noodles done, and I'd say at this point, as I mentioned, I am going to give this chicken a second frying, a very quick one anyway, just before we serve it. So that means let's get the rest of this chicken into the bowl. Just from here, it's only a matter of putting together the sauce. I mean, this is kind of based, I suppose, on a Thai peanut sauce recipe, although it's very basic and somewhat stylized. Maybe you could call it Americanized, perhaps. I noticed that so far I've been doing these wok videos now for what would you say, the past 3 or 4 months, I think. And so far, I don't think I have yet to cook a traditional Chinese wok dish. All of my stir fries so far have been a little, I guess you could say, Americanized or not really traditional. And so far, I've enjoyed that. But who knows? Maybe next month I'll try actually doing a traditional Chinese wok dish. But anyway, here's our first step. Here is our chicken. All right. Okay, which means at this point, let's check how hot this is again. I'm betting it's probably good enough already because yeah, we are still over 400 degrees, and considering all I have to do is a sauce, that is probably all we need. Which means now we just start throwing it all together. Let me center this a little bit. All right. I hate it when I'm on the toilet and the cats come in and just stare at me. Oh, yes, indeed. That was one of the things I learned about owning cats is never having the bathroom all yourself because they know you are a captive audience. Okay, haven't heard much from you as well, Huey. Hope all is well. Howdy, chaotic friends. Hello, Celine, 77 star 99. No, you're not late. After all, the live is still in progress here. So we are doing pretty good. And Hog Wild Cast Iron Restoration, working San Antonio. Not too much chance to make videos. It's over 100 degrees, 9% humidity. Wow, that is pretty hot. All right, I will say that. Obviously, I would say the first thing you should do is just that. To, keep yourself safe and cool. So the videos you can make at any time. However, now that we've done that, let's see what we have here. So where do we get the skillet? Actually, okay, let me do that then. Let's bring this out for you right now, Randy Brown, as I promised. Get this out in my head over here to the rack. Ugh, and bring this out, especially since those of you who know this pan know that it has an unusual cover to it because here it is. All right, actually, I think in fact I better move this back a little bit. And here it is. Wait a second. This is a Griswold lid. Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. And that's because I actually got both this pan and this lid at the same time. I bought this at the Brimfield Antique Show, and I paid $25 for the combination. I'll come back to that Griswold lid in just a moment, but here it is. This is what you were talking about, this so-called tulip handle, this fancy handled gate marked cast iron skillet. This is a number 9 size, and I'm quite happy with that. It only has a single pour spout, in fact. And here is the gate mark on the back with no manufacturer noted at all. But these things are pretty well known, especially among the cast iron collecting community. My understanding is some of the Facebook groups actually have been able to identify a manufacturer for this, although I'm a little skeptical of that because, of course, there aren't really any real records of that. But nonetheless, this is also one of the lightest and thinnest cast iron pans I've ever held, and definitely the lightest and thinnest one that I've ever owned. So I'm quite happy with that. Oh, can't see the handle, you said. Okay, here's one more look at the handle. And this is why they call it a fancy handled pan. I'm not sure if you'd call this a tulip handle. It seems like the different size ones had different designs, but nonetheless, as you can see, it has this design on the back, whereas on the top, whereas on the bottom, it has a very plain but very elongated hole here. All right, I have a gate mark single spout like that. It feels like wrought iron. It's a Worco. Nice. The Wrought Iron Company, WIR. And as I mentioned, here is the Griswold lid that I bought it. As I said, I bought these things together at the Brimfield Antique Show because it just so happens that the Griswold lid fits just about perfectly. There we go. just about perfectly on this pan. And so I bought the combo of them for $25, whereas the guy who sold it to me said that pretty much I was paying for the lid, and he threw the pan in for free because he didn't care about that. There you go again with the Griswold name. Anyway, this is definitely getting hot, and I don't want it to be too hot because we're only putting a sauce together. So I've just turned the heat down a little bit on the stovetop. Add a little bit more oil. Okay. In fact, even now, before I get the stir fry done, or before I put the sauce together, I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to throw in some peanuts so that we can have some nice, quickly fried peanuts to go with this. And this will not take long at all. I'm betting, in fact, since all I'm really am doing is heating these things up and hopefully searing them, this will be done in about a minute or so. These are just jarred peanuts. There's nothing special about that. Jarred store brand roasted peanuts that I got at Price Chopper. I mean, they taste okay, as you know, but really, when you add a little bit of flavor by searing them up in a pan, this definitely helps to improve them. And as you can see, they darken very quickly. So I had better not waste any time. Actually, yeah, let's get this out as quickly as I can. Don't want to drop these. And I also don't want to burn myself because this is hot oil here. All right, maybe I should have used a bigger bowl on this, in fact. But I mean, especially since this is so hot, I definitely have to use a metal bowl. No question about that. Almost done. Yeah, in fact, I got just at the point where I think if these things were 1 second more, they would have burned. But there we go. I definitely have some charred peanuts. All right, it's become my favorite pan. Also, a number 9. Yes, I just tried putting my Type Top Griswold number 9 on it, and it fits. Well, great. I'm glad to have been able to help with that. I mean, definitely, I am all in favor of using your cast iron, including the Griswolds, rather than just simply have it sit and be display pieces. All right, now that we've done that, let's throw in a couple of things here. Here's some onions. And I want to do this quickly because I don't want the onions to burn. I've already turned down the heat on this, although I think you wouldn't notice it. A little bit more. Then to this, let's throw in. Oh yeah, I definitely need to do this quickly. Let's throw in some minced garlic. I close this out. And then to this, let's throw in some ginger. And finally, the fun part. And of course, I forgot to uncover it. So I have to do this as fast as I can. And of course, the stupid thing this cover has to be difficult to get off because, of course. All right. Now, of course, the star of the show, some peanut butter. Let's find a big spoon, start scooping it in fast. Come on. Plop, plop. Yeah, getting it all over the place. I have no idea how this thing managed to splash onto me, but it did. All right, there we go. Get this out. Very quickly because again we don't want this thing to burn, but as you can see this is melting very quick, very fast. So far we just have a basic peanut sauce. I mean, I did throw in the onions, the ginger, and the garlic. Oh yeah, oh yeah, I like the smell of the peanuts definitely now. That is definitely improving it. Now to this, season it up a little bit, not much. Throw in, let's see, what will we throw in? Let's throw in just a little bit of sesame oil, not much, just maybe plop like that. Because sesame oil can be strong and we don't want to overpower it. And then for that, what else? What else? Oh, yes. A little bit of rice vinegar. There we go. Oh, now it's bubbling already. I don't know if it's because of the vinegar or not, but nonetheless. Throw this around. And finally, this is something unusual, but I've seen this in more than one of these videos for this peanut sauce. Namely, throw in a little bit of maple syrup, but not much. So let's give it a try. And now suddenly it's hissing. So I'd say that maple syrup, well, if nothing else, I think it's also thickening the sauce. Look at this, it's definitely bubbling now. That's interesting. Definitely a nice flavor to it so far. Finally, let me see, two things. One is for heat, let's throw in a little bit of chili oil. Again, we don't need a lot, probably enough. As you can see, I'm kind of making it up as I go along. I'm not using measuring spoons or anything like that. Still, we're doing pretty good here. Took a whole 2 days and a lot of fast talking and joke making to put me on simmer. Had she been 15 years younger, I would have rolled her. Little old lady snatched it right out of Dub's. Oh, nice. I guess we're talking about horror stories from The Hunt. Tupperware does make cookware. I just investigated. Oh, that's interesting. I'm betting most likely they probably just have it made, or rather, they probably have it imported. Because I don't see that Tupperware would have built themselves a whole new factory for that. And actually, then again, oh, I know what it is. Remember, Tupperware is unfortunately either in bankruptcy or on the verge of bankruptcy. So it's possible that maybe Tupperware was bought out by another company, one that also has a cookware line. So there's one possibility. Not a happy one, but I'm being honest. All right. Finally, after all that, just a bit once again of red pepper flakes, and then I think we'll be done with our sauce, which means once we put all this in, means now all we have to do is add our nudes. Send nudes. which is exactly what we're going to do. Here is our pasta, which, as you can see, is all congealed. All right, this is where we mix it all in. Come on. Oh, come on. Careful, I don't want to. Oh, there we go. That's one way to do it, isn't it? Boy, doesn't that look pleasant? Which means now you get to start mixing it together, which fortunately is not as difficult as it looks because it will start coming apart. I can reassure you of that. There we go. See? Little by little. And in fact, it sure looks like ramen noodles, doesn't it? But it's actually pasta. So essentially, here we have a pasta sauce that's not a tomato sauce. Oops. Better get my glove because it looks like this is moving around a little on the stove top here. All right. What I really need to do more than anything else is separate it. So let's just keep mixing it together. All right. You know what? I may actually have to add more sauce to this. I mean, it definitely looks like the noodles are starting to get coated with the sauce, but I think I may actually have to add more to it. Okay, well then we'll do that because it does look like it's absorbing the sauce. I mean, this is not looking too bad at all, but we definitely want more sauce, don't we? So, yeah, I'd have to say this is not as, okay, this is a little more dry than I would have wanted. So that definitely means we need to mix in more sauce. So, let's do it. Here comes more peanut butter. Plop. I'm not even measuring it. At this point, though, I would have to say there would probably be at least a cup of peanut butter in here. Plop. And plop. Getting peanut butter all over myself, too. I have to be careful to wash this off. There we go. At least it's definitely melting now. Yeah, that's looking a little better. Especially since we have to add the extra ingredients again. You know, I think I will add still more peanut butter because we definitely want this thing to have the right consistency here. A little bit here, a little bit here. Come on. Getting it all over the place. There we go. All right, I need patience more than anything else. No need to rush. I'm telling that to myself. It will all work out. Okay. All right. There we go. We've done a little bit of that. Now we start adding the other ingredients once again. That was the sesame oil. Don't need to add much. Mix that in. Come on, there we go. All right, that was the sesame oil. There we go. Anyway, this is definitely separating as well. So all of the pasta is being coated, that's for sure. What else did we do? We did a little bit of the rice vinegar. Check the comments here. By the way, why is it when we ever have a problem, we say we're in a jam, but never in a jelly? Well, that's about right. Eat too much lamb. Oh, yeah. It's going to be like biting into a spoonful of peanut butter. Well, that's why I'm trying to loosen it up here by adding the other ingredients to it. So I can see. Need to get it off of the spatula, too. There we go. Yeah, I can't believe how much peanut butter I used, and it still seems to be okay. Well, in that case, as I've said enough times before, no need to panic. At this point, though, I do regret not reserving the pasta water. That probably would have helped. However, let's see. I have done that. I've done the, okay, a little bit of the maple syrup, not much. All right. And then to this, scrape the rest of it off. Add a little bit of chili oil. Again, not much. And spread it around as best as we can. I can see why those viral videos said to use the pasta water. I think I may have made a mistake by not including that. Oh well. In that case, I think I will cheat a little bit. May not be pasta water, but I think I will throw in a little bit of hot water. Just a bit. Let me find a suitable container for that. Oh, damn it. All right. First, I need to heat up the water because I want it to be hot water. And actually, what I should also do is taste test it. Make sure this mass is at least edible here. Definitely edible. However, yes, it is still a little dry. I definitely need to moisten it. In fact, so I'll do two things. One is just a little bit of hot water, not much. And it occurs to me as well, now I should probably add some olive oil to it, in fact. But the taste of that was no problem at all. This is not a ruined dish. All I need to do is, again, give it a little bit more moisture. So let us dig out. Here we are. That Italian, from Italy, extra virgin olive oil. Throw some in, not too much, because we don't want it to be greasy. But let's see if that helps. And from the looks of it, I think we may be seeing an improvement here. What I really need to do is get this to penetrate to the center of this mass. Now, like I said, this thing tasted wonderful. So despite the look, I do not think we are doing too badly at all here. All right. Okay. I've made syrup from black walnut trees too. It's different but very good. Nice. Got the wok rocking again. More water, or if you have chicken stock hanging out in the fridge. I'm not well, maybe about chicken stock now that you say that. Because after all, I am going to be adding, here's the water. I am going to be adding, or at least topping it with chicken. There's no denying that. Well, there we go. I think this is helping nicely now. I think that worked, in fact. That, I do believe, has helped to moisten it up. All right. There we go. So anyway, peanut chicken, or peanut noodles, I should say. I'm sorry. Peanut noodles here. Where, as you saw, we took pasta and made a peanut sauce. One that I should have added more liquid to, but we are still working on it. A little bit more water. And hopefully that's all we need at this point. Oh yeah, now we're finally seeing some results here with the water. I think we may finally have it. There we go. It does not look very appetizing. I will be the first to agree with that. But as I said, when I taste tested it, I did not have any problem with that. There's some heat from the chili oil and the red pepper flakes. There's a lot of flavor. So I do believe we're doing pretty good. All right, that thing ain't no virgin now. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Domino's to the rescue. No, there's no need to order Domino's. As I said before, in fact, I think I will eat a little bit more of it. And I'm not faking this either. I promise you. If I didn't like this, I would not. I would say so. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh yeah, but it's hot though. Oh, I think I just burned my throat. However, we are doing pretty good here. So that means let's move on to the last step and add the chicken back in. There we go. So now we really got ourselves one huge pot of food here. I mean, wow. This would easily feed your whole family, I think. All right. Mix that chicken in, and actually the chicken is mixing in very nicely. So definitely the noodles have not clumped together. The noodles have definitely separated, and the chicken is just that, all throughout the noodles now. So far, so good, which means two things. One is let's garnish it a little bit with some sesame seeds. Again, we don't need a lot. That's probably enough. However, note to self, the next time I make this, I'm definitely reserving the pasta water. I made a mistake by not doing that. My bad. And finally, as if we didn't have enough, let's throw in, still warm, those toasted peanuts. And there we go. Where do you live that you can harvest sweet tree sap like that? I'd have to say it probably lives here in the northeastern United States. I come from New England, the probably the if not the maple syrup capital of the world, definitely the maple syrup capital of the United States. I'm sure Canada might disagree with that. But we have maple trees aplenty here in the Northeast and even here in New York, although definitely not as many as in New England. But there we go. In fact, I think I can even turn off the heat now. Because lo and behold, we've got a huge cast iron pan here. Pretty full of peanut noodles and chicken. Which, as I said, I have no problem eating this at all. No, there's not going to be any need to order Domino's. Let me eat a little more. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I am liking this a lot. And this forkful has a piece of chicken on it too. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Even better, the chicken is not dried out. So I'm liking this. I would definitely say, folks, give it a try because we've got something a little different here. And yeah, I would gladly serve you some, William Hurt. As I said, I am not faking it. I am not forcing myself to eat this. This is turning out pretty darn good. Maybe a little bit drier than I would have liked. I will say that. Let's do some photos here. But despite that, we definitely have a nice huge pot of peanut noodles and chicken, or just chicken, or if you prefer, you can call it that. You know, chicken, peanut, noodle, stir fry. There we go. Hooah. So yeah. Please, sir, I have some more. Oh yeah. I can reassure you, if you like peanut butter, you will like this dish. I'm not having any problem at all with that. In fact, the heat is off. I'm going to put a lid on it to keep it from getting too dry. Unfortunately, the noodles I used would disintegrate in this recipe. Yeah, okay, now that's a thought. Rice noodles, as you know, are very fragile. There's no denying that. That's probably why most of these recipes I saw say to use things like pasta, because the pasta definitely held up better. I mean, the rice noodles probably would indeed have disintegrated. So, as such, I would call this a pasta dish for precisely that reason. If only plates had wings. Mm-hmm. So, I will agree with you on that, Mercy B. Thank you very much for the comment. But still, there we go. All right, my house guests whom I've talked about enough times, have actually been away for the past couple of days. My understanding is that they will be coming home tonight. And if that's the case, well, as you can see, we've got plenty for them to eat. There is no problem at all with that. And all this was done in one cast iron pan. No, correction, two. Namely, the large cast iron wok. The other thing, of course, was we had to use this aluminum pot to make the noodles. So whatever pot you normally make your pasta in, that would be needed. But other than that, this whole thing was done in the large cast iron wok. So yes, I am quite frankly not complaining. Well, okay. I'm not calling it an absolute 100% success because, as I mentioned, it was a little drier than I liked. But the taste is, if not phenomenal, is really exceptional. I really like this. The peanut flavor going with the chicken and the pasta, and there is definitely heat as well from the chili oil and the red pepper. Yet this is not one of those spicy dishes that will destroy your mouth. So I may have burned it just because it was too hot. I burned my throat because it was too hot initially. But I'd say it certainly is cooling up by now. In fact, I think I'll have just a little bit more here. Another forkful where I believe there's some chicken in this. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh yeah. Mm. No, I am not complaining at all about the taste of this. So this I am no. As I said, no need to call Domino's tonight. Not to worry. And good night, Mercy B. Glad to see you here, though. Still, so far so good. And as I mentioned, the large cast iron wok, like I said, I have used this particular pan almost weekly for the last 13 years. I've learned a lot about doing stir fries in this large cast iron wok, and I'm quite happy with it. As such, while I know they say that the essential pans you need in your kitchen are a cast iron skillet, another cast iron skillet, and a Dutch oven, a wok would certainly have to be somewhere there in the list of your top five, if not your top three kitchen utensils to use. You can do so many things with a wok. And quite frankly, there is nothing better when it comes to doing stir fries. You can do stir fries just absolutely wonderful stir fries in your cast iron skillets and in your Dutch ovens. But the wok is designed especially for doing stir fries. And quite frankly, I don't think there is anything better. The difference between a skillet and a wok would be like the difference between excellent for a skillet and outstanding and world class for a wok. I indeed, as I said, a wok is not a unitasker. A wok is an essential piece of kitchen cookware. And if you do not have a wok, you do owe it to yourself to get one. It may not be the large cast iron wok, but once you actually get yourself a wok and start using it, you will get a lot of use out of it, and you will probably be using that wok for the rest of your life. All right. Mr. Majors, I'd take down a plate of that. I'd serve it up with some hot and fast stir fried veggies for a little break from the peanut butter. Yeah, that's not a bad plan at all with that, in fact. Um, I had been debating whether or not I should do a veggie stir fry to go along with this, but well, I really wanted to concentrate on doing the noodles more than anything else. And Radagast, I made biscuits in my unmarked Wagner square skillet. Nice. Well, congratulations on that, Radagast. $80 for the 14. Oh, hey, somebody scored a number 14 for $80. That's nice. A three-notch lodge number 14. Yeah, that would have been a good price indeed. So yeah, congratulations on that. That's for sure. Anyway, I mean, you know how fussy kids are. I do believe that even kids may go for this because, of course, it's got a lot of peanut butter in it. So I'd say give it a try. You might even want to fake it and say, this came from P.F. Chang's, and see if maybe that might help help to get them to try it and eat it. So I'll holler. Okay, yeah. I would agree that $80 for number 14 is a good size, is a good price, especially for a vintage number 14. The large 15-inch cast iron skillet that they sell these days, I believe, has a price of about $50. So $80 for a vintage one is not a bad price at all. I inherited my mom's wok and it has to be at least 45 years old. Well, congratulations, 4M Morris family. I can only hope you're getting a lot of use out of it too. So, all right. Anyway, yeah, this indeed has been Wok Wednesday. And so now that means we're ready to start preparing for next month on Wok Wednesday. I'm not sure what, as I never seem to I never seem to know in advance what I'm going to be doing with these things. Maybe next week, next month rather, I'll try doing a more traditional Chinese dish and we'll see how it turns out. Maybe true Chinese versus Americanized Chinese, which, as you know, is probably what most people have eaten with Chinese food for their entire life. Even so, I'm still quite happy to have been able to do this. So yeah, as again, any excuse to use this cast iron wok is a good excuse as far as I'm concerned, and I am quite happy with this. All right, I love my walk, Rick Stumbow, and look for new ways or things to make in it. Well, if you haven't made these peanut noodles, I would definitely say give it a try. And notice as well, I mixed in some chicken. And the person who suggested doing a veggie stir fry to go along with this, I would not argue with that at all. Yeah, adding some greens to this, like maybe green onions, for instance, would also definitely be a plus. So thank you as well to Bell's Black Cats Rule. Yes, and thank you very much, and thank you for being here this evening. How big is this wok, Celine 77? This is a large 14-inch cast iron wok, which is probably the most popular one that Lodge has sold. They did sell them in the 12-inch size with a long handle, but I would have to say that this particular wok has probably been a better seller. And really, I really enjoy the size of this wok as well. I have cooked in a 12-inch wok, and just the 2-inch difference between the 12-inch wok and this 14-inch wok is considerable. As such, I would definitely recommend going with the 14-inch wok. It has just that much more space for doing your stir fry, and I think you will enjoy having that much more space. So I would definitely say go for a 14-inch wok, whether it's Lodge or any other manufacturer. And Corey Clark, so I took my own cast off. I wasn't going to pay them to do it. Well, yeah, I can only hope it turned out okay, Corey Clark. And likewise, hello, Kimberly Miller, and good night to you as well. Radagast, I have green onions in the garden, and they're very good this time of year. And this is definitely a good excuse to make some use, to get some use out of them as well. So yeah, Foreign Morris, try Dan noodles. I also use angel hair for that. But that's exactly what I'm used right now. I used angel hair pasta tonight. I suppose you could even try your good old ramen noodles with this and see how well that turns out and give it a try. Because why not? The important thing is how it tastes. And I think the taste of this turned out great. I'll be more than happy to serve this to my house guests when they come back home. And there's plenty of it as well. I have other friends as well now whom I'll be able to serve this to. And I think even they might give it a try because, after all, this is really just chicken and pasta and peanut butter. So we'll see whether or not they might like it. And yes, indeed, it is spaghetti, Corey Clark. So here we are there. Soak the Joker and go to work cutting. Good night, everybody, and good night as well to Jim Glather, if I'm pronouncing it right. And thank you very much as well for being here. And I think I could say that to everybody as well, because, yeah, we definitely accomplished what we set out to do here tonight, and I'm quite happy with that. I do like the results of this. I'll have to adjust it next time and maybe add a little bit more liquid, but that's the only thing that needs to be adjusted because the taste of this is really, really good, and I'm quite happy with that. So thank you though to everybody who's been kind enough to make some comments on this as well. And this again is another reason why I like doing these videos live, because you can see the actual results. I will say this was not 100% because again, it was a little more dry than I would have liked. And you would not have seen that in one of those pre-edited videos. However, again, I don't have any problem at all with this taste, and I'm believe me, I'm going to be more than happy to help to finish this off. So, but thank you again to everybody for your comments here. Cynthia Wesley, as greedy as I am, I got to pass. I don't eat peanut butter. Well, it's not the same for everybody because, yeah, for instance, if you have peanut allergies, well, obviously, don't make this dish. On the other hand, if if you love peanut butter, make this dish. I think you will not regret it. But thank you again though to everybody who's been here and who's shown up tonight, like Rick Stumbout. Thank you for Wok Wednesday. Well, thank you for being here, Rick, and Val's Black Cats Rules. And Cast Iron Fanatic, and thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week as well. And Clico and Greg Hart and Anthony and 4M Morris family. The Chinese version of this dish would use sesame paste. Well, give it a try. Maybe that might actually help. So, I mean, I would agree that I can improve this in a couple of ways, make it more moist, for instance. But the taste, as I said, is just fine, and it only really needs a couple of adjustments. So, this is not the worst thing I have made by a long shot. And yes, Ralph Black Rules, Celine True. Julia Child always showed her mistakes. And yes, and there's another reason to respect her, and I certainly do. And I respect all of you folks, by the way, for being completely honest with your comments. I very much appreciate that because, as I said, I'm still learning as well, and I will be learning for the rest of my life. And that's why, again, any honest criticism is something that I appreciate. And thank you very much for doing so. And thank you for being here, folks. Thank you very much for making these videos so much fun on Wednesday nights. And I intend to keep on doing them, especially because of you folks, because you're the ones really who make these things so much fun. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for being here. And we can always look forward to doing this once again next week, where, as I mentioned, I'm doing something a little different next week, largely because I'm going to be preparing for the 4th of July. So next week on July 3rd, the evening of July 3rd, I'm going to be starting this live video at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of 8, because I'm going to be doing a full-blown jambalaya from beginning to end. And I estimate that to take somewhere maybe between 2 and 3 hours. Jambalaya to be served on the 4th of July. So thank you. And I can only hope people are interested enough that you might want to drop by next week. I'm not asking everybody to stay for the entire 3 hours. No. But feel free to stop in whenever you'd like, and feel free to leave whenever you'd like. But just as long as I hope I've been doing my best to entertain you, and I hope it's interesting enough that you may want to drop by. So thank you to everybody. And thank you as well to Russell Winters and Mad Mullet 1990 and Radagast and everybody else. Yeah, no dominoes tonight, no Noid tonight. So, but we will see what happens next week when again we do all this over. So thank you everybody, and have yourself a good rest of the week. And as always, I'll see you next Wednesday.